Yammer the hammer time. That's better.
We're here in Sandy, Utah. We've decided to stop to stretch our legs on our way to Zion, and we're going to do the Bell Canyon Reservoir. In the meantime here, we're standing in the majestic views overlooking the Wasatch Mountains and the Salt Lake Valley. Absolutely stunning, and we're going to do this little tiny trail, just like I said, to stretch our legs. Now, we did the reservoir itself. This trail actually goes on to a waterfall, but keep in mind that this trail from that point gets quite steep and quite rocky. Over the past few years, approximately 4 people have died, and a number of people have been rescued and injured. So be careful, and also please remember that this is a reservoir. The water coming into it is a protective watershed. So this is going to be water that people are going to drink. So please do not swim. Do not let your animals go for a swim in there. And if you are going to be fishing, you do need to have hip waders. Around the reservoir, we seem to be escorted by what appeared to be a 2-headed wild turkey. Now, mind you, there are no such things as 2-headed wild turkey, but just the way they're walking, it looks like, what is this? Led the way to a couple of really neat looking critters, including some praying mantis and some lizards. It's kind of a nice little area. As I said, if you're interested in this hike, it was a very, very nice little break. I will leave a link in the description for the trailhead. Our next stop was supposed to be Kanarra Falls. Now, we have done this before. It is a fantastic hike where you're going through a slack canyon and climbing up waterfalls through man-made ladders and contraptions. It was an awesome trip. But unfortunately, what we didn't know is that it was closed for a week for maintenance the week that we were down there, which kind of really sucked. And here's a tip for you. Keep in mind that this trail now charges for permits, basically for crowd control. You don't want a lot of people trying to climb up these ladders when you're trying to climb up waterfalls too. So just keep that in mind, that you will have to pay for it. And also just check to make sure the trail is open, because it does require regular maintenance to keep it safe for all of us. But it is definitely worth checking out. Once again, I will leave a link in the description for this trailhead. We're on our way to Mukuntuweap National Monument. I hope I pronounced that correctly. For thousands of years, this has been the home to many, many people. There are lots of archaeological sites through here, but unfortunately, people just can't seem to look with just their eyes. They have to touch with everything else. So therefore, a lot of these archaeological sites are hidden and non-accessible to the public. European Americans have been actually exploring this area since the late 1700s, but it wasn't until 1917 that it actually became accessible to tourists. And in 1919, it received the status of National Park. And at that point, the name was changed to something that we are a bit more familiar with. Instead of Mukuntuweap, it is now called Zion. Now, Zion means different things. It can mean hill, mountain, sanctuary, kingdom of heaven. Depends on who you talk to. But one thing stands out, is that this is in fact an absolutely stunning, gorgeous area, and it is a sanctuary, and please treat it as such. Tip time. Please keep in mind, you have to get here early. At 9 o'clock in the morning we were here, the main parking lot was full, and you cannot drive to the trailheads for the main trailheads, so you have to take the shuttle, and those lines get very, very busy. The trail we are going to today is off the beaten path in Zion, so we didn't have to worry about crowds. But here's another little tip too. Certain trails require permits, such as the Narrows if you're going into the subway. Also, yes, the Angel's Landing now requires, in fact, a permit if you're going to go up there. So keep that in mind and plan for your trip. Here's another tip. It is $35 per car to travel through. Now that will be good for 1 week. Or you can get the National Park Pass, which is good for the entire year, for $80. But also keep in mind, check the regulations of how high your vehicle can be and how wide it can be. If it goes over those dimensions, you will have to get an additional permit and a timed entry to go through the 1.1 mile long tunnel. Now, onto the tunnel. This tunnel here was built in 1930 and it required 3 years to build. And what's really cool as you're going through it are these galleries. And it's basically, it's like windows out into overlooking Zion. It's actually gorgeous. But they're designed, there's 3 reasons for these. First reason was for lighting when they were building the tunnel. Second was for ventilation. Third, it actually allowed a spot to get rid of rock debris as they were making the tunnels. Through Zion, you're going to be traveling through twists and turns and up and down, switchbacks, and leading to gorgeous views. Every single turn is a different view. It is absolutely a stunning road that you do have to take. We're here now at Many Pools, and as I said before, it's off the beaten path. It is an amazing hike and just as good as the other hikes. It's just that there's not as many people. Just be aware of a couple of things, and I will leave a link to the trailhead in the description. But you do have to walk along the road a little bit, and the sides of the road can be somewhat on the soft side with sand. I did trip, I did fall on the road while I was trying to protect my camera. Luckily there was a break in traffic and I didn't get hit, but a second later I would have been smushed, and because people travel a little too fast around these twists and turns. And also the trailhead is on the opposite side of the road to the parking lot itself. So just be aware of that, be careful. Also, please bring water with you. These are Many Pools. These are areas where water has pooled, but it is not potable water. It definitely is not for drinking, trust me on this. Now, this hike does require some stamina, some rock climbing skills. I should say scrambling skills. You don't have to actually climb the rocks, but it makes for a fantastic hike. And I think we passed like 1 or 2 people the entire time. It is stunningly gorgeous out here, but it is a harsh environment. But life does find a way. In these pools, it is a perfect spot for a breeding ground for life. And here we have the red spotted toad. It has glands on its back that secrete protective mucus and toxins. I mean, life does find a way. We have the canyon tree frog. It has suckers on its toes so it can actually move and climb things. But the unique thing is the color. I've never seen a silver gray frog before, but this allows it to blend into its environment so you can't see it. It just so happened my wife was sitting by one of the pools and we did see tadpoles. We were, where are the frogs? There's no tadpoles. And sure enough, had she not sat down, she goes, what's that? And it's a frog. And in a harsh environment, we have frogs. And it is such a cool looking frog. It looked metallic, silver, it's really cool, kind of alien. And we also have the common lizard in the area, the plateau lizard. Now off to Belly of the Dragon. And this is a short little hike just outside of Zion. It's actually really, really neat to do. Short, nice little stop, but I highly recommend it because you don't really see something like this anywhere else. This was in fact a man-made tunnel dug out for drainage purposes for the upper canyons above and feeding into the North Fork River. But over time, those ragged edges of a man-made tunnel gave way for the erosion, water running through, and smoothed the edges out and twisted the edges to make it look like you're literally going through the bowels or the intestines of a very large beast. Tip, because of this, do not enter when you have some rain. This area is prone to flash flood. You get stuck in this tunnel or flash flood, you will be shot out the other side as human waste.
Yeah, watch out for the narrow passageway there.
Now, if it's a nice day, if you want to continue up the wash another 4 miles, we didn't do it, we were restricted with time, but you do get to a very nice small slot canyon you can explore. So yeah, if you have the time, just continue on once you pass through the tunnel and keep going on up the wash. On number 12 highway, considered as to be one of the most scenic drives in America. It's considered the all-American road. It is really, really nice road, tons of great scenery. We've been on it so many times and I never get bored of it. And we are passing Bryce Canyon. We're not going in this time. We've been there many times. and I highly recommend it. It is, to me, I actually prefer it over the Grand Canyon. It's a fantasy land of what appears to be massive castles, and if you get it the right light, it's absolutely stunning. And just think about this one for a second. The bottom layer of Bryce Canyon is actually the top layer of Zion National Park. Now, the bottom layer of Zion National Park is actually the top layer of the Grand Canyon National Park. Let that one sink in a little bit. It just goes to show that this whole area is interconnected and has undergone erosion at various rates. We are now entering Kodachrome Basin State Park, where over 180 million years of erosion from inland seas and raging waters and torrents and earthquakes have now allowed us to be met and greeted by monolithic spires and towers and chimneys. There's over 70 of them, in fact, and they range anywhere from 6 feet to 170 feet tall. Absolutely stunning. Due to the ever-changing color and contrast through the entire day, based on the light, could be sunrise, midday, sunset, you're met with amazing color shifts. And this was so prevalent that in 1949, they approached the Kodak Film Company if they could use the word Kodachrome in the name of the state park. They were allowed to, and in 1963, it was open to the public. There are two main trails through here. It's the Panorama, is the one which we had done. And there's another one, plus they have about 6 extensions that you can pick up and have tons of hiking for as much as you want. And here's a tip for you as well. If you have a chance, we would love to have done this if we had the time. Camp here. It's $10 for the night. I mean, this is actually stunning. It allows you to get up in the morning and see these spires in sunrise. I think that'd be fantastic. Our next stop is the best, Escalante. This is where we're going to tackle Spooky and Peekaboo Canyons once again. We've done this once before, but I'm not sure if the canyons are getting a little bit narrower or I'm just getting a little bit thicker. I did get stuck once. It was a challenge, got a little beat up. I don't know if I can do it again, but we're going to take you to there. Plus, we're going to do Batty's Pass. Now, if you want to see something very strange left in the desert, I'm going to show it to you. Join us next time. Scooby-Doo-wah.